couple weeks ago, I did a video called "The Message to Black Goths, Black Fantasy Fans, and Black Comic Fans." And the response I got to that video was a surprise to me. I did not expect to have so many people watch that video, and I did not expect Mr. Superboy 223 to even make a video that was even better than the one that I made. And the reason why I made that video is because I look at the image of African Americans as it relates to culture, and we're often told that there is only one way for us to be a part of black culture. And I look at black culture from a larger perspective, a broader, more panoramic perspective. And from that perspective, I see all these other groups who are not being represented by the mainstream media or even being discussed even in the black community. And it's sad that we aren't talking about these groups and that they don't feel that there's a sense of trying to make an effort to include those groups in the discussion about the black experience. Because when I look at the black experience, again, I only see maybe one or two narratives altogether, and they all fit within the confines of what the white liberal wants to see regarding African Americans. And that's a very, very narrow scope when you think about it when it comes down to the image of African Americans. There is more to African Americans than being some hip-hopping, basketball-playing, Kool-Aid drinking Negro male who walks around in sagging pants or who comes from the ghetto. There is more to African American females than being a loudmouth, sassy black woman or some strong, independent career woman. There is more to the African American experience than what is usually presented in these narrow views of media, which are primarily made by white liberals and a handful of African Americans. Yes, it's very, very much more, because as I have gone out and done the research on things like your Black Goth subculture, I found a lot of African Americans who enjoy participating in that subculture and who want to have more people join their subculture and want more people to talk about it, but they just can't get a voice on a platform. No one will sit down and talk to them. I mean, I've gone to YouTube and I've watched numerous Black Goth videos over the last year and a half for my research on the Spinsterella novel, and I continue to watch them, and again, they talk about how they're not talked about on the regular. Also, the same thing with a lot of black comic fans and a lot of black sci-fi fans. No one wants to really, talk about our interest in this. Again, in all three cases, we're often told that we're acting white, we're trying to be into white things, and that our representation of blackness is not the so-called true representation of blackness. However, the other images of blackness, your hip-hop guys, your thug guys, your gang members, your pro-blacks, your Nation of Islam, those are considered normal images of African Americans. And it's sad that there is no place on the platform for these other groups to have a forum or to have any sort of representation in mainstream media, because I've looked at black comic fans, black sci-fi fans, black fantasy fans, and the Black Goths, and they have a lot to contribute to the African American experience, and they have a lot to offer in terms of discussing, something about the black culture, because their black culture should, as I see it, be seen as equal to any other black culture out here, and they have a right to be considered as black as anybody else. However, when it comes down to the black image and the black experience, people only want to see everything fit one narrative, because a lot of people really want to appease and please these white liberals in places like Hollywood, because they think that they're going to win validation and approval from these white liberals if they represent the stereotypes that make them feel comfortable. And that's the main reason why they want to continue perpetuating these stereotypes that make everybody feel comfortable. And they don't want to promote any sort of image of African Americans that runs counter to those stereotypes that white people feel comfortable with. And this is one of the reasons why I believe your movies like You're Dope never get any push from mainstream African Americans, because they do not fit the narrative that make the white liberal feel comfortable. Because when I watched the movie Dope, I saw a lot of my own experiences as a comic fan, as a sci-fi fan, as a person who's into other interests outside of the mainstream, represented in that film. And that film, sadly, got no support from mainstream African Americans, and it got no push from mainstream African Americans. Your NAACP only nominated it for one award and snubbed it pretty much after that to reward a film like Straight Outta Compton, which pretty much reinforced old stereotypes regarding African Americans. And again, this is really sad to me because there are a lot of great stories to tell from the worlds of your black goths or your black sci-fi fans and your black fantasy fans. And we could really show true diversity if African Americans who are into these hobbies were given an opportunity to show what we can do and to talk about our culture and our experience and what we want to contribute to the black culture and the black experience. That part of the black culture, as I see it, needs to be broadened because we need to see more to the black experience than what is being presented right now, because what's being presented right now is a very, very extremely narrow scope, especially when I compare it to all the progress that was made during the 1980s and the 1990s, where we were starting to get that broader picture of what it meant to be African American in media. I look at the golden age of the 1980s and the 1990s when it started with Your Cosby Show and then expanded with shows like Your Different Worlds, Your Sister Sisters, Your Smart Guys, characters on shows like Star Trek The Next Generation, Your Man Called Hawk, Deep Space Nine, Mantis, Your Static Shock. And all these shows pretty much showed you a diverse array of experiences of African Americans. And then there are other films out there. I can't remember the name of one of them. It was one of them called, I think it was called The Truth About White Girls. Again, another film that showed you another perspective of African American culture and African American experience. And then later on with Your Dope. And we really need to see these different pictures because, again, there is more than one experience regarding being black. And black is not just one color. It is a spectrum of colors. And in order for people to get a true understanding of what it means to be African American and the African American experience, they really need to see a broad array of experiences and different stories, because we all don't come from the same story. We all don't follow the same narrative. And we, as black people, need to start trying to define ourselves. And that's why I make every effort to publish books like your Smithsterellas or your ISIS series or books like The Man Who Rules the World, because I really want black people, not only the world to see a positive and balanced image of African Americans and a diverse image of African Americans, but I want black people to see a positive and balanced image of African Americans, because the more images we see of African Americans, the more people will understand that we are more than what one stereotype represents, and that there is a human face behind every black person, because every black person's experience is completely different than what is presented in your mainstream media. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.